Hi, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm going to give a rather simple Shabbat message based on the very beginning of the Parsha, and yet I know it's perhaps a most profound message that all of us need to hear. It does have to do with being in the post-COVID world and seeing up close the changed behaviors of people in this world after the long period of isolation and anxiety and fear about the disease. People are together again. We know that here at B'nai Torah. And one of the things that's been written about, and one of the things that I have perceived, and perhaps many of you have perceived, is that people come together and there's a different level of connection when you see people, particularly when you see strangers. There's a certain fear or certain anxiety about it. There also is a lack of patience that's become obvious. I see it when I drive, and I see it when I'm in public places. Frankly, not so much at the synagogue, but that's because of the nature of the community that we've created. Parshat Naso is about continuing the counting of the people of Israel, the tribes, and with the count, the responsibilities of the different tribal leaders. And it uses a very interesting language when it speaks about counting, because naso is the word that's used, but naso is not the most common word that's used for counting. We have other words. And I've learned this from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zichrono Livracha. They're words that are much more commonly used when we talk about counting. Naso means to raise up, to lift up, or even to carry, as opposed to count. And yet what we see is a counting of tribal leaders. So why is it? Well, Sachs makes a really beautiful point, and that has to do with the fact that every individual who we see, every individual that we come into contact with, should be someone that we're willing to lift up, someone that we're willing to exalt, as it were. That we look at each person in our tradition with the realization that every person is created in the divine image, that every person has great capacity and abilities and different abilities and worthiness. And so I think it's a wonderful reminder for us in this world. When we see people, when we meet people, we should be prepared to lift them up as we hope they would lift us up. And that's an important dimension of living in a family, and it's an important dimension in living in a community or being in any relationship. So as Moses lifted up the tribal leaders in his count, let's think about that when we come to the people who are either those in the most intimate relationships we have or those who we simply come across day to day. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.